Talking Nerdcore, Talking Nerdcore today. We're talking Nerdcore, Talking Nerdcore our way. We're talking Nerdcore, Talking Nerdcore today. We're talking Nerdcore, Talking Nerdcore our way.
Hey guys, how's it going? It's the animeoveranalyst here, and welcome to Talking Nerdcore episode 6. Today, my guests are the Otaku Couple. I can't talk. Otaku Couple, Don and Ren. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves a little bit?
Sure. So we're the Otaku Couple, Otaku Don, Otaku Ren. We also are Nerdcore reactors here on YouTube. We also do some gaming streams. Used to be on Twitch, now on YouTube. And we also react to full anime and TV shows over on our Patreon. So if you're interested in any of that stuff, be sure to come check us out.
We're a good time.
Oh, and she animates and draws.
Oh, I do.
So if you're interested in some art, check her out.
Sounds like fun. So today's episode, we're going to be talking about Jujutsu Kaisen, which I believe is one of the anime that you watched on your Patreon. Is that correct?
Correct. It was actually, when it first came out, we were like, oh man, we want to really see that. But we had plans to start trying to react to full anime, so we waited. And I'm glad we did. That was one hell of a series to react to.
It really was.
Yeah. I was going to say, I actually tried doing something like that with Eden Zero. And when it was first coming out, I was posting pretty much weekly reactions to that, but edited on YouTube. And then I was going to put full lengths on Patreon, and then it just went nowhere. And I had so much stress going on with work life that I fell behind, and I just have not caught up. So my Patreon is non-existent, and I'm kind of wanting it to keep that way, because that's one less thing to worry about.
I understand completely.
You got a lot.
So, why don't you guys kind of describe what Jujutsu Kaisen is for those who don't really know about it? And you can give spoilers, because...
Cool.
Spoiler alert.
Yes.
All the shit.
Jujutsu Kaisen is basically shonen with demons and the generic anime protagonist who is super OP for no reason at all, except
So
he's
Black
not...
Clover?
Pretty much, except he's not the most broken. Gojo is. Can we talk about how broken Gojo is? I'll say this, as far as like generic shonen go, or this type of anime that it is, I think the storytelling is done really well, better than most. It definitely gets a little jumpy in the middle, as we definitely thought that in our reactions for it. It was for like a good 3-4 episodes. It felt like we didn't understand where the story was going, why we skipped to where we skipped to, and then it just randomly jumped back to the main plot line of the show, and we're just like, all right, I don't like when shows do that. But that is like my only gripe with this entire anime, honestly.
Interesting.
Had some slow moments
It
where we
certainly
griped
did.
about that a lot. Where it's like, it did. It was like we would go and everything would be shit getting real, to the point then the next episode nothing was happening. We're like, this doesn't feel right.
It has a very quick-paced beginning, and then it slows down for the middle, and then it just picks right back up into just balls-to-the-wall action for the last, like, 4 episodes.
Yes. Yeah. So, let's kind of just start from the beginning. So we meet this character called Yuji Itadori, and right out of the bat, he's just kind of broken. Like, for some reason, he's like, oh yeah, I can shock put the gym teacher, beat him in like an instant.
Broke the national record without trying.
Right.
Yeah.
In high school.
What was it, 30 seconds? 20 seconds?
It
running?
and he beat the run too. I mean, he was just a amazing athlete for no reason whatsoever, and he just didn't want to be an athlete. He just wanted to chill and be in the occult club. But his gym teacher was like, "No, you need to be on the gym team, bro. You're ripped
for no reason."
So, literally, I was actually kind of fascinated with the 2 side characters of the occult club. I really thought that was going somewhere. And then it went nowhere.
Yeah,
right.
And I was really disappointed with that.
Yes.
Yeah, so the whole thing, they find this what we find out is a cursed object, a special grade cursed object that the occult club finds, and they're like, oh, we're gonna examine it because it's spooky, it'll be fun. And then they summon a bunch of curses to the school. They almost get clapped. Yuji saves them, and then Yuji's just kind of like, hey, so I'm not gonna be at school anymore. I don't want you guys to feel bad about what happened. Okay, bye. And then they just never see him again.
Never again.
Yeah. And well, let's talk about that cursed object. So that cursed object is a finger, one of Sukuno's finger. And Sukuno is just kind of this demon thing. I don't know what to describe him besides like
a demon god.
He's just a demon god.
The god of all demons.
Yeah.
The two-faced, four-armed demon god.
Yes.
That everyone is afraid of.
Pretty much. And it's got that kind of Naruto aspect where the more fingers that Yuji eats, the stronger Sukuno becomes when he's inside. Because apparently by eating a finger, he inherits Sukuno. Like Sukuno's will or just him in general. So we've got our Naruto vibes right off the bat. Just our standard typical shonen where the protagonist is a demon of some kind.
Yep, but with the added twist that this time the protagonist can completely control the demon from the get-go, which was unheard of to begin with. They're like, yo, how do you control that, bro?
That was so funny. That was so funny when Gojo first shows up and he's like, hey, can you go revert back? And Ichidori's like, yeah, sure. Gojo's like, cool, I want to fight him for like 2 minutes.
And then he comes back.
Then just shows up and then just like wastes out the timer. Is like, wow, he really can control it. That's funny. Yeah. It's like, what?
Yeah.
It's even funnier when Sukuna's just monologuing and Yuji just pulls himself down. It's like, what are you doing with my body? It's just like...
And he just stops. He like holds his face and whatever. Like,
yes.
Shenanigans. I call shenanigans.
The whole edit when Sukuno's taking over the body with just like the eyes on the side of his face and it's just so creepy. But
and Sukuna loves to be shirtless because every time he shows up in this series, he rips off the shirt.
Oh, of course.
Yuji's got to be like down 10 shirts because
because he just rips them off.
I mean, as much of a stud that he is, anyone really complaining?
Right. Nobody's complaining.
I know I'm not.
That took a second. I was already in another thought, and
I got you.
Yes. Okay, so also introduced in the first episode, we get kind of the rival sidekick in Megumi. And really?
Megumi is best boy.
Yeah,
really?
Yeah.
Because I really don't care about him. Really? At all. Like to me, every anime has to have the emo boy.
Yeah.
Or it has to have the edgy character. And so that's Megumi. And sometimes I like the edgy characters. And sometimes
you didn't.
That one
I don't care for him.
Like I don't really feel like he has much of a personality at all.
Gotcha.
So I'll explain why I liked Megumi from the very beginning. So first off, he starts off as what we think is going to be the mentor character for Yuji and the third character that we'll get into in a little bit here because he's the most seasoned out of them. And he's the one trying to keep them into the realistic mindset of what a Jujutsu sorcerer is supposed to be. The fact that he's so edgy, it was just edgy enough that I wasn't annoyed or like apathetic about it. I wanted to know why. What made him so edgy when he has a sensei like Gojo who's so lighthearted? I'm like, how? Why? What's the backstory here? So by the time we got to that backstory, I just wanted to know more. So as far as like the next season is concerned, I spent the entire first season just waiting for Megumi's level up. I knew it was gonna happen. They kept teasing it throughout the entire series. So I was like, he's gonna be a problem. And I'm waiting for when he starts showing off his power, and I was not disappointed.
Yeah, because I was going to say the same exact thing. Was just there was so much foreshadowing, and like there was clearly he wasn't all he was meant to be from the moment we saw him. So I was like, I'm really excited to see him. And he had cute doggies. And I was like, oh, I love that.
True. That's true. Although
doggies
some of them got obliterated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One doggy didn't make it. But see, you saying you don't care for Megami, that's how I feel about, was it, I have a list of names. Nobara?
I don't care much about her either.
I don't see.
Cool, we can
like-
all agree on that because that was the character that everyone was talking
Yeah, like,
about.
she's
Like,
best
oh,
girl
she's
and
best
I don't
girl.
like
I love her
her.
character. And I'm like, there are 2 other female characters leagues above her in
Yes.
this series as far as I'm concerned. I don't know why y'all are hyping her up so much.
I just don't care for her. And her personality is one of those where I'm like, okay, it's too much.
Yeah. So, and she gets introduced like a couple episodes in. But before we go there, I want to kind of talk about a little bit of confusion I have for Megumi. So Megumi has this kind of experience, and when I was first watching it, I was like, okay, he's been with like Jujutsu Kaisen, he's like the academy for a while or something like that. That's kind of the impression I got. But yet he's also a first year? Like, that's where I'm confused, where it's like, why does he have so much skill or so much knowledge for a first year?
Right.
That's a fair point.
They kind of go over it though. It's because of the clan he was raised up in.
Yeah. I kind of forgot.
That
about
Gojo
that.
bought him out of.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay. So
Gojo kind of like took
he
him and
kinda
said, "I'm
raped
gonna actually train him instead of you
Yeah.
guys just teaching him random shit. I'm gonna train him to be an actual sorcerer and get him out of
Okay.
this house." So that was kind of what happened with Megumi. So Megumi was just that was his first year studying there, but I think he was taught about curse energy and all that kind of stuff pretty early on.
Yeah.
At least that's what
Okay.
I gathered from what I was given.
yeah,
And with his sister.
Yeah, I think Nobara knew a little bit as well, but that was because she was like a country girl
Yeah.
whose sole goal was to visit Tokyo.
Yeah.
Something
She wanted to
like
get to
that.
the
Something like
city, be
Yeah.
a model.
Oh my lord, that was so funny.
Yeah. I do like some the interactions between Ichidori and Nobara a little bit.
Mhm.
Like their chemistry, I like a lot.
Yeah.
One thing that really, really also confused me was we have this little arc where Yuji, Megumi, and Nobara go into investigate some murder, and a lower class demon shows up and practically annihilates them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
Sukuna shows up and theoretically kills Yuji. And we're like, oh shit, did Yuji just
Yeah.
die in the first? Like,
Yeah.
he stabbed his heart out.
Yeah.
Yep. First big arc and the main character dies?
Yeah.
What? Nani?
Yes. And then what got me was Nobara and Megumi became very sore about Yuji's death. And for me, it was like, they didn't really build up their relationship that
No.
much. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't understand how they were so. I mean, yeah, they lost a comrade, but I
See, that-
I felt like the way they were wanting to hype up the loss was like Yuji was like their best friend, closest friend.
Yeah.
Right. I think with Megami, it kind of made more sense with him being sad because, like, since the first episode, he had that weird connection with Yuji because, like, he kept saying, you know, I just wanted to save you. Like, I just wanted you to be okay. And it's like throughout the episodes, from that point to even honestly to the end, it's still Megami was like, I just wanted to protect you. And it was still kind of a weird thing because we were like, why? Why did you feel that way so strongly that first time? And I think we got a little explanation why it was that way, but it's still kind of one of those where it's like,
Yeah. It definitely makes less sense for Nobara to feel the way she felt about Yuji. I can sort of understand Megumi just because he went through all the effort to save him
Yeah.
in the first place, and then for him to die in front of him would probably upset him a little bit.
Yeah.
Nobara wasn't even there.
Yeah.
So Nobara didn't have any, bigger reason
Yeah.
to care for Yuji being gone, especially since the previous episode or arc that they first met and they had to fight those couple of demons in that school or whatever it was. It wasn't a school, whatever that building was. She acted like she didn't like Yuji at all. She didn't care for him at all. So if we're led to believe that they maybe went on 2-3 more missions before that big one where that happens, I don't see that relationship getting where it did.
Yeah.
But Megumi, at least when he was fighting Sukuna after Yuji was technically dead already, before he was going to unleash his ultimate move or whatever, he was going to do some extra shit, which is like I was talking about. They were always hyping that up. He was like, I just want you to know I don't regret saving you. And then Yuji just comes back and says, it's okay. And then they have their little heart to heart and then he dies. I mean, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
I can see Megumi being some type of way about that.
Yeah.
But I definitely don't
Nobara
understand
didn't make
Nobara's,
sense.
except for the fact that I guess they decided to do that just so that she wasn't the heartless one in the situation.
Because they started making her character that way, and it was just one of those words. She was too much of a bitch. I'm sorry.
Nobara's whole personality in the show comes off as very selfish.
Yes.
Yes.
She starts off just talking about, oh, I only came here to be a Jujutsu sorceress because I could move to the city because I wanted to get out of the country because I hate the country and all this stuff. And even when she's fighting demons, she says some pretty disrespectful shit, just basically being like, it's all about me, me. She bosses everybody around. It's just like, I get it. You're the tough female character that doesn't take shit from anybody, but it's like, you can have more personality than that.
I was going to say, you don't have to be that personified.
Yeah.
No.
You can be a little diverse.
That always bothered me whenever shows or anime do that, where like we want a strong female character, so that is their only archetype. That's their only characteristics.
Yeah, I don't like that because that's just like you can have strong female characters without making them completely bitchy and bossy like that. Because I feel like that's. I shouldn't say for the Japanese population, but maybe it is because we can kind of add that in with culture because females in Asia are kind of more submissive to men because that's just how it is. And I don't know, having like I guess their internal thought of a strong woman means somebody who's bossy and kind of completely saying shitty things to their teammates or boyfriends or whatever, and it's like that's not a strong
that ain't
female
it, Chief.
character, but okay.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I guess we're also, we got the Western viewpoint versus like a traditional Eastern viewpoint, and who's to say who's right and who's wrong,
Yeah.
But but I agree with you there, where it's just like, no, there's really no need.
There's more to it.
And also another thing is like, again, like Nobara, the whole series, she starts off and she, be like, oh, she's doing some cool shit. She does like voodoo stuff. That's kind of cool.
Yeah,
but she spends half the series losing all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, like she'll do like one cool thing. She'll get her ass beat for an entire fight, do one cool thing, and then still lose at the end of it. And so she got her last redemption in the final episode of season 1, and that's not enough to make up for her whole character. It's not enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just doesn't do it enough for me.
Well, maybe the manga tackles it a little differently. We're just doing
I'm
anime
trying to read
only,
the manga now because I do want to see if there is any difference with that.
Yeah. So, going on from there. So we meet Gojo, and Gojo's a very interesting character. At first, I'm like, okay, he's just Kakashi. He's just literally Kakashi,
pretty much
lighthearted.
But more broken.
I think gray heart or gray hair, he wears a mask.
Yep, that blindfold swag.
Sorry. Kakashi wears the mask, he wears the blindfold, but
so it's completely different. There's no correlation at all. Don't worry about it.
It's not the same person.
But
I gotta say, I'm glad that Gojo's hype was not oversold in the first episode.
I agree. I agree. And just his whole lightheartedness really, really took me aback. Mostly when he was training Yuji. like some of his training techniques was just interesting. Like here, let's watch some bad movies while
right, and get beaten up by a teddy bear.
while you control your curse energy output, or else you'll get punched by a little bear. It's like,
yeah,
so
it's like, okay, sure.
That was kind of a little bit sidetracked from Gojo, but his whole Yuji's whole training arc, I think that was a frustration thing for us when we were watching it, because it again just kind of talks about how we went from 0 to 100 back to 0 with each episode. I kind of wish, and I know it's expensive to make animation, I truly do, but like we didn't get a lot of Yuji's training arc outside of the movies to because my name list is dead right now, to Stitchy dude, what's his name? Mahito. Yeah. So there's just a lot of gaps to see how he built himself from there, but
it's just like, I'm going to teach you how to use curse techniques, and then we get what seems to be a little mini time skip, and suddenly he knows how to use curse techniques all of a sudden. It's just like, oh, well, that's nice. I guess I didn't see him learn how to do that. He just knows now.
Honestly, at first I was like, curse techniques kind of confuse me, and then I'm like, you know what? Let's just call it BS anime powers, and everything made sense after that.
I love even the fact that Gojo explained curse techniques as basically BS anime powers. Because when Yuji was at first like, oh, will I be able to do a power bomb and do this? He's like, oh no, you got to be born with those techniques. If you're unborn, you just can't use them. Which goes even further to say how broken Gojo is. He was born broken
with his infinity.
I was gonna say, we're almost at that part where Gojo literally fights the volcano dude whose name is Jogo. Just Gojo, just flip the G and the J.
I see what you did there.
But want to just kind of talk us through that fight there a little bit?
Yes.
Oh yes. So first of all, Gojo knew what was up as soon as Jogo entered the area, got out the car, waited for him, let him knock him around a little bit. It was just like, okay, wait, you can talk. You're a talking curse. That's interesting. Hold on. This might be worth something. And then, takes an ultimate blast to the face. He's like, oh no, you didn't touch me. It's like, I felt that I touched you. No. You touched the infinity between us. It's like that line. I was like, hold on. I need to think about what he just said.
And then he explained
He's like, no, come here. Come on. Come touch my hand. And then they're like, here, this close.
Yes.
He's like, I can't touch you. It's like, that's the infinity between us? You're not stopped. You're just moving really slowly. So what do we do now? Should we hold hands? It's just starts playing with him at that point. Because it's like, obviously Gojo's leagues above everybody.
Yes.
He starts showing off his powers, and then teleports, gets Yuji, comes back in like 10 seconds, which is already a mindfuck in and of itself. And then when Jogo gets mad, it's like, you got him here as a shield? So he's like, no, don't worry, you're weak, it doesn't matter. It's just like, how are you just gonna insult that dude to his face? And he calls him weaker than the special grade curse that Yuji basically died to in his last mission. So that's Yuji's way of seeing how strong Gojo is. Like, that's what your level's at.
And I think Gojo was like, I think I can take on Sukuna with 8 fingers or something like that. Which
he was like, you literally asked again, like first 2 episodes. He's like, oh, would you win though? I'd beat him.
Yes.
And like we get to this fight with Jogo, and he activates his domain, Infinite Void, and I'm like, oh yeah, he would. He'd win. I don't see Sukuna beating that. I just don't see it happening. It's just not possible.
No,
he's a boss.
Yeah,
even before that, when the whole thing when Yuji quote unquote died and was on the forensics table, Gojo's sitting there literally talking like, I could go kill every higher up in this entire organization. It'd be easy, but it wouldn't accomplish nothing, so I'm not doing it. I'm like, bro, Gojo is a problem.
Well, he became so much of a problem that the villains literally caged him out while they were trying to take on Yuji. But that's further on down the line.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
we'll get there.
while all this is going on, by the way, and we were talking about how Megumi and Nobara are depressed, we get introduced to the second years at
The better
JJK.
trio.
Yeah.
The better girl.
Yes, with the actual best girl, Maki.
Oh, I love Maki.
Really? Could you guys explain that? Because I honestly didn't care about her either.
Oh.
Well, I liked Maki after learning more about her backstory of her being from a highly rated Jujutsu sorcerer clan, but basically being, exiled from there, and that was the only reason why her rank was so low, was because they were petty, basically. So when she's fighting people, they're like, wait a minute, she's a rank 4? In what universe is this a rank 4? She's strong as hell. And it's like, yeah. And I just like the aspect of the weapons specialist in any anime. That's kind of like, I just love that trope a lot, where she's like, oh, you might not have a lot of cool, like, OP planet busting skills, but you give you any kind of weapon and you can do some damage. And I like
think
that.
That's why I liked her a lot too, because she doesn't technically have the ability to use curse power, but she can wield objects that have curse energy in
So
that.
she can still fight.
And
She can still fight other curses,
me-
and the fact that she needs glasses just to see curses.
Yeah.
Like it's so much so to that extent that she's so handicapped,
Yeah.
but yet she's one of the best ones out of that entire school.
Yeah, but I think what I like the most about that is the fact that, like, in order for her to have gotten to where she was, she had to train to be that. So, like, she had to be a top-notch fighter to be able to bring anything to the team, actually. And it's kind of like us talking about Naruto. It's kind of like Rock Lee, where he doesn't have the same ability to use his chakra like that. So he had to train from day one to be the strongest martial artist. And it's kind of like her in that case, too. And I love that.
So, and what I like about, like, weapons in that case, and I wonder if they'll use it later on, is when other people also use special grade weapons. Because I always feel like with anime that introduce these type of characters, they don't give other characters the ability to use these weapons. So I'm kind of curious. Like, I know Nobara has the hammer, but I think that's... Oh, and the Maki's sister. I'm trying to look at Mai. And she has the gun. But other than that, like, nobody really uses weapons. And I'm kind of curious if that'll be, like, something going on, or if, like, Yuji picks something up. I'm kind of doubtful, but I'd like to see something like that.
Yeah.
I feel like if anything, Megumi would be the one to eventually learn how to use weapons more, because he kind of started that anyways. When that was his quote unquote level up during that training arc before the exchange event, it was him learning how to, one, use his shadows better, but two, to also kind of learn how to, increase his combat power, because he realized when he fought Sukuna that he has no combat power. He's like, he just sends out his Shikigami, and if they die, they die. So he's kind of fucked. So he kind of is like, I need a backup plan for that. So he finally found one. But he wasn't super good at using them, but he was okay enough. Put him just above most of the other students, but he wasn't on Maki's level yet. But I think if she keeps training him, he could get there.
Yeah, I think so too. And Miwa,
Miwa. That's the runner up for the other best girl.
I loved her too. With her sword. There really wasn't a lot.
Yeah.
And that was like her whole thing, and like that's funny. We say funny because it's useless Miwa, but like her whole technique surrounds her having that one sword. If she doesn't have the sword, she kind of has nothing else going on. But I just loved her for her personality. It was funny.
She was so clumsy.
Yeah.
And adorable.
So also we also have Ao Toto. Who? What do you think about his character and how he just kind of clapped Megumi? Pun intended.
I see what you did there.
Yes.
Pun intended.
For not having the correct taste.
So that was, it's funny because it's like, it's so over the top and it's clearly not trying to be serious. So it kind of just works.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those like he starts off with that ridiculous question, and then dude gives a pretty decent answer. He's like, "No, you're boring. I'm gonna have to beat you half to death now because you gave me a boring answer." Right. So your brain is trying to wrap around the fact that like, what do you mean? But then he starts fighting, and you're like, "Hold on, wait a minute. There's some stuff going on here. This dude is like a top martial artist right here, and he's just super strong." And then while he's talking with them, he's talking about like, "Are you telling me you're doing all this without any cursed energy?" He's like, "Oh yeah, I don't use that unless I'm fighting a grade 1 or a special grade demon." demon. He just straight up
why are you so
punches
strong?
regular demons all the
Yes.
time. And it's like, what?
What is this
Excuse me?
dude? Yes. I found him kind of interesting too, mostly when it came later on when he teamed up with Yuji.
Yeah.
And actually, well, that'll be later on. So basically, we have these two parallel arcs going on at the same time, and I think this is where you guys were really struggling with the anime, because it was like they were bouncing back and forth between Yuji's training arc and Megumi and Nobara meeting the rest of JJK.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, finally, they meet together. And what do you think of the whole, like, Yuji just showing up and Nobara and Megumi, like,
Their responses.
I think it was funny because I think it was just like they had already gone through their grieving and mourning process. They were over it finally. Then Yuji just shows up and they're just mad at this point. They're like, "Why are you here? Why didn't you tell us you were alive still?" And even though that's all Gojo's fault, but they can't do anything about Gojo. So Gojo just shows up. They're like, they're not happy to see me at all. He's like, "Yep. Anyway, hey, other students, look, this is Yuji." And it's just like,
here's some souvenirs.
it's just unfortunate. And because Gojo basically used Yuji to just get at the principal.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really all it was of the other
Yes.
school. He was just like, "Oh, hey, I'm surprised you're still here. I thought you would have keeled over dead after being so surprised." And it's just like, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I do think it was kind of, I mean, they gave us like one little moment of Nobara and Megu being like, "Do you have anything to say for yourself for being alive still?" And after that, they're just kind of like, "Yeah, he's back. Cool. Let's start implementing him into our plans and all of this and that." And it's like, okay, are you just gonna, that's it? We're done?
Yeah.
He's back. That's it? Everybody's happy now?
Yeah.
No one has questions about what he's been doing, what he's learned. We're just here.
Because they all assumed that he was less than them.
Yeah.
At that point, too. That they weren't on the same level. It's like,
It was just something else.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, the whole arc is trying to set up for this whole exam. Not exam. It's like
The exchange event.
event, which I was sitting here. I kind of thought it was a little bit weird. I don't know. Something about it, the way that they were trying to build up to it, wasn't clicking for me.
Yeah, it was weird. It was like I get the whole idea of like, oh, we're just doing this to show off skills. It's like Naruto's tuning exams, basically. That's just basically what it was. But it was really just an excuse to get the students to fight each other.
Yeah. It didn't feel like there was enough
even though they
order,
were technically for the event, the actual like, you know, the thing that's happening is you guys don't have to fight each other at all. You're hunting demons. It's like, you know they're gonna fight.
Yeah.
You know they're gonna fight. Like, don't sit here and act like you guys don't have to though. It's like, come on now.
Yeah.
You know Toto is gonna go around clapping everybody.
Especially if the president's the one who was like, "Hey, I need you to go kill Yuji." So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that was the thing too. It's like, well, we could assume that they were gonna fight anyway, but they made it about fighting them.
Yeah.
Because of that was their mission.
And then also, speaking of that, I don't like plot. It was just literally for plot convenience. The fact that like 3 out of 4 of the members of the Tokyo team were like, they're probably going to try to kill Yuji. It's like, how you just come to that conclusion that they're just going to try to kill Yuji? Like, you've gotten no indication that that's what's happening. You just met most of these people.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? How does Megumi and Panda and Maki just already suddenly know, like, yeah, Yuji's probably a target.
Yeah.
We should make sure that, you know, we know what's going on with that. It's like... plot. It's
Good
plot
instinct.
convenience.
Good instincts.
Pretty much. And actually, you mentioned Panda, and we didn't even talk about Panda.
All right.
Panda's real interesting, and I actually like him. And in my notes I have a wordy guy, Toge Inumaki.
Yes.
Inumaki.
So Panda is literally just a panda that can talk.
Yes.
That's literally it.
That's all he is.
Although he's not only a panda.
Well, yeah.
Right. He's got a lot going for him. But...
And then other dude just speaks curses, and
That
so he
was
has to speak in sushi
I
sushi
love
ingredients so that
it.
it's safe.
And I lost my shit when he actually talked.
I
That was
know,
where I about
right?
took your headphones off
Yeah.
because I was so excited when he was like, "Stop!" And I was like, "Oh my god!" He just spoke.
Yeah, and he stopped Toto. He stopped Toto from pretty much destroying Megumi.
Right.
Like, if it wasn't for
lost
the
my
huge
shit.
drawback that comes with his power, he would be the strongest student from
Yeah.
Tokyo.
Mm-hmm.
Just straight up. But because he hits his limit pretty quick, it's just like,
Well, and I get the feeling he doesn't train very much.
no.
Yeah.
I don't think he's ever needed to.
Exactly.
It's just one of those things he could probably take down with the team most like curses and demons and whatnot pretty quickly. Doesn't have to do but maybe 2-3 curses in a day. He's like, okay, yeah, that's fine. I could do that. But yeah, but when we'll get into what happens later, yeah, that's not exactly how that works.
Yeah. So, anyways, they pretty much go, and we have the exchange event going on. And when that happens, we get basically the demons attack again. And we get kind of like this earth demon, and then we get this other guy who I completely forget about because he's just there to block Gojo.
Right.
And fails. But
Yeah.
Mother Nature demon is the real one here.
Yes.
Yes.
So at this time, we have Toto searching for Yuji, not to really beat him up, but more to try and understand his character, ask him the one question.
Yes.
The one true question. What's your type of women?
The bromance that has now
which Yuji said the one thing he needed to hear. I like a tall woman with a big ass like Jennifer Lawrence.
That whole scheme was the funniest thing I have ever seen in an anime.
Yep, as Toto proceeds to fabricate an entire backstory where they were best friends in high school.
That episode lasted half an episode. Like that entire story. Like I'm sitting there like, what the heck?
Over here, all these little these still images of them just hanging out. He's like, I'm gonna tell her how I feel. Don't do that, bro. I don't want to have to console you after she dumps you. No, bro, I'm gonna do it. Then gets jumped. Hey, man, it's okay. Let's go get some food. You're right. It's like, bro, what is happening? What is going on right now?
Like I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm almost more invested in this fake story that he's made than the actual show.
Right. Exactly.
And then they start fighting, and Toto's like just praising Yuji in his own mind for everything that he's doing, even though he's still fucking up a little bit. And Toto just basically has him correct everything wrong with his fighting style. Just, for no reason other than just that, no, bro, you gotta soar with me. You can't be my best friend if you're weak and fucking up all the time. It's just like,
it was just literally every time, bro is so amazing.
What was hilarious is that after all that was settled and done, he still tried doing it with Yuji, and Yuji's like, "Bro, it was just in the moment type of deal."
Yeah,
he's like, "No, we are friends.
Yes.
We are friends for life."
The hell.
Yes.
Oh my god.
I love their relationship.
Yes. So you want to kind of describe that fight a little bit?
Oh Lord.
The fight with
Mother Nature.
Yeah. That was one hell of a fight. So first of all, it starts off with after Megumi fighting another dude from one of the other demon clans and like interrogating him about what he's trying to do to Yuji. That's when they get interrupted by the Mother Nature demon, who they quickly understand they are not going to be able to beat very easily.
Right.
Maki and Megumi definitely get somewhere with them, but they are not on the level either. But don't worry, because Toto and Yuji come to save the day after his who knows how many minutes of training he got from Toto. He's like, all right, listen here, bro. If you don't land that one special move, I'm not going to help you fight this thing. It's just like, okay, what are we talking about here? The Black Flash. Where they enter the runner's high. They could just start spamming out all these special moves, basically.
Yes.
That was so ridiculous.
Which I find it was hilarious when Yuji failed the first time, and Toto's like, hey, bro, It just slaps the hell out of it. It's just like, you're thinking too hard.
Yeah.
You're using your emotions too much. Zen out, bro.
Yeah.
It's just like, like Toto just spent that whole fight just training Yuji to be better.
He was just,
and then as soon as he joins the fight, he unleashes his special move, the
Lord.
boogie woogie, the Toto clap, which is probably the most broken, just curse technique at just period. I mean, Gojo's is kind of passive, so I'm not going to count his. But Toto's, for how simple but effective it is, where every time he claps, he can switch places with anything within a certain vicinity, and they just start wailing on Mother Nature Demon because she can't she can't do anything, and he's tricking her all left and right, switching with who knows whatever, clapping even though he's not switching anything, and they're just beating the hell out of her. That is probably my favorite fight in the entire series.
Well, what I really like about that fight was earlier on they kind of mentioned it. Gojo mentioned it, where it's like, tell your adversary your powers a little bit, and it literally gave a reason for characters to spout exposition. Yes.
Yeah.
Which we missed a whole character getting to this point. Nanami, Kento Nanami, he was the first one to tell Yuji about that. It's like, telling your opponent your powers just increases its own effectiveness, which I was like, that's a really nice way for this show to basically be like, we have reason for exposition for talking about my powers. It's just like, okay, I got you.
Yeah.
But even then, Toto went through the whole thing, but he just like gave little bits of information over time so that they could never adapt to his ability, which was brilliant. Like the dude's like, he comes off as this musclehead that's just got raw power, but he was actually a really good like tactician through most of that fight as well. It just kind of showed where Toto's level is compared to the other students.
Yeah.
So finally, they pretty much clap Mother Nature.
Like what you did.
Sorry, I went brain fog, and they retreat, and so we get introduced later on to a guy named Junpei, and I have him in my notes as sad kid because
you gotta have a sad kid in the anime somewhere.
Yeah.
He goes up to Mahito, which I also say as Shigaraki Light.
Yes.
And
that's a good way to describe him.
I almost like Mahito. Let's actually talk about Mahito a little bit, because I kind of jumped the gun here with Junpei. Mahito is like the incarnation of all human hatred, I believe. Something like that.
Yeah.
As long as humans hate, he exists.
Yes.
And
I also like his character. He's brilliant.
I actually love him a lot more than Shigaraki.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
I can agree with that.
Mainly because, like, with Shigaraki and My Hero Academia, I always kind of thought he was a whiny character, almost like.
Yeah, a whiny kid, like a baby.
Yep.
That would just pout if nothing went his way, throw a tantrum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Mahito he's conniving, the way that he manipulates Junpei is amazing to me. Like,
it was it was so methodical, but it comes off as whimsical all at the same time. He was just like, "Ooh, opportunity!
Yes.
Let's let's do that then." And it's just like, bro, like, and there's some of the stuff that he does is so fucked up.
Yes.
So it's just like, dude, no. And that's another. I mean. We're talking about Junpei as well, is that's a lot of what we get introduced with from Mahito by. I don't think Junpei was a necessary character. I mean, really? I get that he was there to kind of push Yuji past a certain point in, his views and his ethics as a Jujutsu sorcerer, but other than that, he's really just there as a plaything for Mahito. I mean, the whole like it feels like that storyline that happens from he's the bullied kid and he doesn't fit in anywhere. Oh look, there's this is a curse or a demon, whatever, that he also doesn't seem to fit in with most people. I'll be friends with him. Oh, but then I met this guy Yuji. He's cool. He's like a friend, and then out of it just so quickly it goes from 0 to 100 again. Where he's switching sides. Mahito's like, oh, I can use that to my advantage for Sukuna's vessel or whatever. And it's just like that whole plot device. I think they could have gotten what they wanted from Yuji without involving Junpei at all. Yeah.
I think the reason why you talking about that just kind of reminded me maybe more. I think the reason they included it more was just to kind of show Yuji that he can't save everyone.
Right.
You know, like he got put in a position where Junpei got turned into a weird demon monster thing or blob.
Yeah, when he got his soul reshaped.
Jaw dropped when that happened.
Because I thought he was going to live just based off of the intro and him always there.
Yeah.
I was like,
the
they're
intro
make him
was
into
the biggest clickbait in this entire year.
I thought he was
it was literally like, oh, look
it.
at this fun little ending part of the intro where he's sitting around the picnic with the other students, and we're like, you spend the whole series like, okay, where's that character showing up? You finally you're like, oh well, I know where this is gonna go. No, that's not where it goes at all. And then the brilliance of after that episode, the first episode that he dies, that very next episode, the intro changes ever so slightly, where in the end, when Yuji's sitting on the train and he goes back to sleep, he's crying because Junpei's dead. And I'm so glad that we caught that in our reactions, because I probably would have missed it just skipping the intros for a while, but we were talking about something, so we let it play out, and that's when we finally saw it. He just goes like this, and you just see the tear flies down, and then it fades out into black again.
Brilliant.
And it's like, okay, that's how you know it's getting serious, and that tone shift has happened finally for this show.
I really do think that that's probably why they added his character in there, because you could almost argue and say that he could have gotten that same exact experience with his grandpa, but I mean, his grandpa was just dying because of old age and whatever he was in the hospital for. So that's not.
Yeah, I guess my whole thing is I feel like Yuji should have realized he can't save everybody when he had his first mission at that prison. I mean, he went in there with the mindset of like, oh, I want to save these 3 people. He found one of them mangled half to death. I mean, that's when everybody around him was like, you can't save everybody. So I just felt like by the time we get to Junpei, it's like, how many times we got to teach you this lesson? You can't save
But it's the same
everybody.
thing because he didn't want to kill anybody as well. So
yeah, he had to get over that too in that arc.
So I think they needed that in order to make him realize that he can't just go around and maybe like beat some butt and then capture whatever and everything be good. Like, you're gonna kill some people. You're gonna kill people that are demons. I mean, that's what happened with I already forgot his name, Stitchy. He was making humans Mahito. As demons, and they had to end the misery of humans that are realizing that they're no longer human. They're suffering. And I think that's what was needed for him.
That's fair. I can agree with that.
Yeah. So I'm just kind of glad that they didn't do the whole like, no, we're going to try to keep him alive and see if we can find a cure or something BS like that.
Yeah, no, I'm glad they didn't retcon their own saying from like 3 episodes where it was like, yeah, when they get changed like that, there's no saving them. I'm glad it wasn't he's like, no, I'm determined to save this one person. It's like, stop. Let's just stop it.
We ain't doing that.
So I actually really enjoyed that fight with Mahito.
I did too.
We got to see Mahito develop into a true special grade demon in that fight.
The entire time. Nothing was serious.
Oh, but speaking of that fight, I love how Mahito found out that Yuji is his one true weakness, though, because of Sukuna existing within him, because he can't touch his soul. Because Sukuna got mad. He was like,
don't you do that
because
again.
we both roasted that boy together, I'm going to let this one time slide. If you come in here again, I will kill you.
I love that. I just love how Sukuna, his whole personality is like, fuck off.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Literally.
Yes.
And then Kento showing up and just being like, Yuji, how the hell are you still alive? And how did you touch him without dying? He's like, oh, I don't know. He's like,
You're right.
Yuji's the key here.
Yes. He's like, I can't touch him, but we'll just start welling on his
He'd be like, okay, I'll create the openings, you touch him. And it's just like, okay, the teamwork. I enjoyed the teamwork. And honestly, Yuji and Kento were probably my favorite duo that ever like really showed up next to Maki and Megumi.
Yeah.
Because just the constant between the Shikigamis, the shadows, switching out the weapons whenever she needed the weapons, it really made them a pretty good duo.
That's true. I completely forgot about that part of the fight.
Yeah.
Yep, he was just like, okay, I'll switch. He just basically made his shadow world in inventory for her. So he was a traveling inventory vault. He's like, here, weapon, weapon, beat his ass, weapon. It's just like, I don't got to do anything, weapons. Yeah. It's just like, okay, I get it.
I've always got kind of I've got a soft spot for support characters.
Yes.
Yes.
Support are usually better than the main.
Yeah.
And a lot of things.
So, trying to see now what happens after that. My memory's getting a little bit foggy here.
So after the whole thing with Mahito, that is when, Kento has this talk with Yuji about, okay, so, I mean, like, I can't give you an answer that'll make you feel better about the situation. You're going to have to come to terms with some of this stuff that's going to happen if you're walking down this path. So Yuji finally gets whatever conviction he needed to continue doing what he was doing. And then after that is when the exchange event happened. Yeah. But after the exchange event is when we get into that final arc of Megumi's hometown, where they get on their next mission.
With his sister.
Where people were being cursed by some like
demon under the bridge, or
like
ghost.
the ring level thing, where they're like, oh yeah, once you get a call or you see something, if you come home and your door is open or whatever, that means you are marked and you're gonna die in like a week.
Yeah.
And Megumi's like, I know a lot of people that's going to affect, and I have to do this. Yeah. And it was just basically the Megumi arc that I was finally waiting for, finally happening. But luckily, he didn't. He tried, but luckily Yuji and Nobara did show up and were like, you're not doing this by yourself.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Like, thank God.
Finally, a trio that's actually working as a trio, practically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because throughout the entire anime, they didn't feel like a trio to me. Like, they were hyped up throughout the anime as a trio, but they didn't feel like one to me.
Yeah, they were just like the ragtag team of first years that were just kind of slammed together, being like, okay, here you guys go, start doing some shit. But that whole fight, that whole sequence of them being on that mission together was the first time that it was like, and again, we don't know how much time passed between that arc and the last one, but it really felt like they were finally seasoned as a team. They knew each other's abilities, their strengths, their weaknesses. They had a plan for when stuff happened. That whole thing when they went into that domain, they're like, okay, you two head outside, handle those things. I'll stay in here and I'll handle all of these things. Yeah. Break, we got it. It's a plan. We'll handle it. And it's like, okay, I like that. Do the teamwork. Don't just go off and do your own thing. Or like, oh, I got it, guys. Yeah. It's just like, no, there was a plan, and everyone stuck to their plan and did their job.
Yeah. And I really did enjoy that fight with Nobara and Yuji versus like the two brothers.
Yes, that fight, not only was it animated,
it was
magnificently, but just the strategy behind it was actually kind of genius. Like using their own ability of putting their blood to make the curse happen. Was like, okay, Nobara's like, okay, cool, bet I could just use resonance on you then, and though she's just stabbing herself with nails,
so
but it's still hurting him. And then meanwhile, Yuji's over here, he's like, oh yeah, you guys didn't know, he's Sukuna's his vessel. He's not affected by poison like that. It might hurt, but he'll just beat your ass while he's hurting. It doesn't matter. Exactly. It's like, oh yeah, this was not the team you two should have went up against, basically.
No.
Well,
that was brilliant.
I kind of like how they kind of created this kind of brotherly attachment. It felt kind of human to me. Because with that third brother. So, and I like it when anime do this type of stuff where like they even give the demons human characteristics to make them feel like they're not just pure evil.
Yeah, the whole thing of basically Nobara playing chicken with the main demon that implemented the curse, and being like, all right, your brother might die if you don't release it. And he's like, and he even in his mind, he's like, I can't release it. I'm not gonna release it. But as soon as his little brother cries out for him, he released it. Didn't even realize he was doing it. And I'm like, okay, I see what you did there. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That was dope.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one thing that I just realized that we completely glossed over or completely forgot to mention back in the Mother Nature fight was Gojo's purple rain ability.
Right.
The hollow purple.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh Lord. That whole thing where even Toto was like, no,
take a step
bro,
back.
take a step back or you'll get caught in the crossfire. And he's just like, Gojo's just doing a Superman thing, flying up in the air like, who do I go
He
for?
literally said, who do I go for first? And it's like, what the hell?
Then just activates that ability and literally almost cuts the world in half. That crater was so deep. Like, I'm pretty sure it went to the middle of the earth.
Yes.
That just it reminded me a lot of like Dimension Slash from Black Clover. I don't know if you guys have seen that show, but
I have.
Yeah. Reminded me a lot. So I just wanted to bring that up real quick because I was like, I completely forgot about that moment.
We also got to bring up Megumi's Shadow Chimera Garden.
Yes.
His domain that he unleashed in that final fight, which is the level up that I was waiting. They kept teasing it, and he finally unleashed it. Even though it wasn't a perfect domain yet, it was still broken. And I just love that little flashback sequence of him talking with Gojo, just being like, listen, Megumi, you're just different from everybody else. Your first instinct isn't to go balls to the wall, just start doing the shit.
Yeah.
Your instinct is to just be back and do a support, which is fine. Everyone needs a support every now and then. That's a necessary part of the team. But with that mindset, you're never going to get anywhere. You're going to have to go beyond that. So he's like, fine, fuck it. Let's just do this shit. And he beat the special grade that looked identical to the one from the prison, which is so symbolic. It was very like, oh yes, he beat the thing that pretty much made him realize he was not strong enough, and he beat it when it was stronger than that last one too. So I liked that. Megumi, I'm glad he didn't die. He kind of made me worried for a second. He just kind of laid down like, I'm going to take a rest. It's like, no, don't you dare go to sleep and die.
He just needed a nap.
No, I figured he was just going to be like KO'd. That'd be it. He's exhausted. That's kind of the feeling I was getting when I was watching that.
Little butler chick came to pick them up in her car, and she was so mad.
Yeah, I don't even know what they're called. I know they're part of the Jujutsu Sorcerers, but they're like assistants to the Jujutsu Sorcerers or whatever. Yeah. She was like, "Where the hell have you three been?" It's just like the angry mother out looking for her kids. Just like, well, sorry, we were doing stuff.
We're saving the world. I'm sorry, Mom.
Right.
Sorry.
So man. Actually, kind of going back, I'm kind of glad that they gave a little bit of importance to that baseball episode. Like, don't get me wrong, I love baseball, but it was like, oh yeah, we just needed to do a part 3 for the exchange. Let's just do baseball. And I'm like, really?
What?
Really?
Really?
To be fair, like, it was a nice little breather from the end of that second part of it, because it was like,
well, yeah,
like we all just saw Gojo just flatten the earth. Basically, we need a minute. Like, let's take a step back and let's do some baseball and just call it a damn day.
Yeah. Actually, we haven't even talked about Mechamaru.
Mechamaru is probably the most interesting character as far as like his whole deal, his whole story, his whole powers, him being unable to go anywhere and move from that little incubation tank that he has because of this technique that he was born with. Yeah. So he has to just, control this mechanical robot with cursed energy and have all the techniques go through that.
Yeah.
And him hating Panda for being another cursed object type of creature.
Yes.
It just being like, it's not fair. You get to go out and enjoy life and, get to feel all this stuff. Yeah. I'm just stuck in here. And it's like, okay, you're bitter. I get it. But he was still cool.
Yeah. I feel like that built him up for more of a growth or whatever you want to call it. Like, I feel like we're going to get more of his actual human form. And whatever season, whenever it comes.
Right.
So.
Yeah, well, that Panda versus Mechamaru fight was really cool.
It was.
Yeah. Well, Panda's gorilla mode was something else entirely.
Yeah.
And we kind of we still don't know what one of his other forms is, because they didn't show it in the picture, and he was like, "Oh, that first sneak attack killed that one."
Yeah,
and I was like, "Wait, we don't get to see it." It's like, that's not fair. But it was just in there, I guess. So it's like, well, that's unfortunate, but I'm sure there's just saving that for the next season. For the next time he does some shit. Can't lay all his cards out on the table just yet.
Gotta be a mystery.
You got to build some hype. But yeah, that whole concept of like he has a couple like curses in his body.
Yeah.
Like that's just real fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Is the only one of his kind. He's like, most curse subjects only have one curse, and I have 3. It's like, okay, so you're broken, is what you're telling me. I mean, there's a reason why your other 2 teammates basically look at you as the leader.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
And you're he's like also the most like level-headed one out of that entire.
Really, like the panda dude is the most level-headed one. He's got some pretty hilarious jokes though.
He does.
I'm a panda.
just straight. I mean, it's like his whole personality is I'm a panda, but it works. Just because it's already like it's a panda, and nobody is questioning the fact that there's a talking panda over here. They just accept that to be fact. And while we're on the top, if we're talking about the Kyoto students, does anybody here like the little girl on the broom, the witch girl?
Because I can't even remember her name. Like all the names I wrote down, I literally got to her and I'm like, I don't care about you. Next.
Yeah. Okay, so we're all in agreement that she was just there to basically be the different mindset than Nobara, and that's it. Like she had no other purpose. She was like the scout, and she had no other purpose in that entire group.
I wanted to like her, but she was literally useless in my.
Just over here talking about if you're going to be a woman and a jujutsu sorcerer, you have to be pretty, you have to be perfect, you have to be strong. And I'm like, okay, you can shut up. Yeah. If this is your whole point of being in the series, then I'm done with you already. You can leave.
I wanted to like her because I was like, oh, a witch. And then I was like, I'm disappointed in this.
I was glad that Nobara smacked the hell out of her with that squeaky toy.
Yeah, she did. That was funny.
Yes.
Like I was saying, like Nobara was doing real well in that fight, but then she got shot. She got headshotted. Yeah. It's just like, there it is. Yeah. Nobara can't have anything.
With that, that was a special, interesting attack from Mai there, where she's like once a day she can make a bullet.
Yep. Yeah, she can make one bullet once a day. It's like that's such a weird like technique to have. Like, and really, it wouldn't even matter in the instance of a curse, really, because unless you're fighting a curse that's a special grade that has the intelligence to be like, oh, I can count your bullets. If you're just fighting a regular old demon that's just, do you want your receipt? They're not gonna be counting your bullets. You don't need to. That like that doesn't help you.
Yeah.
So I was just like, it's like a interesting power, but it's like it wouldn't have any effect outside of this exchange event, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, your power is kind of whatever.
The only person we really haven't talked about, we glossed over him a little bit, is Kento.
Yes.
Kento Nanami. So what do you think about Kento?
Kento is literally like the average Joe worker that hates everything, but is just really good at his job. Yeah. It was just first, she's like, I was an ex-Jujutsu sorcerer, and then I went to go and work in the world. You know what I learned there? Working sucks. So if things are gonna suck, I might as well do the one that I feel like is making the most difference in the world.
He was a straight up mood.
That whole backstory sequence of him, where he was an investment broker or whatever, and he went to his local bakery all the time and get the bread, and he exercised that demon that was resting on that girl's shoulders. Yeah. And he's just like, it's unfortunate it isn't. No, my job has nothing to do, it doesn't do anything for this world, doesn't really do anything for this country, but I get paid way more. But if you were to go out of business, the world would miss their favorite bread probably. Yeah. And yet you get paid significantly less. But that's just the world we live in. And he just doesn't like the way that the world works. Yeah. And even though he fucking hated being a Jujutsu tech in general and Gojo, he was like, this is still probably better for me to be doing right now than just to be stealing people's money, basically.
Yeah.
And then his ability is broken. Yeah. His ability is broken. Now the whole 7-3 ratio, and then he has a timed contract on his cursed energy where he goes into overtime and he gets more powerful. That whole thing was like, you got 15 minutes and then I'm clocking out. It's just like, I respect it. As soon as he goes like, well, guess I'm going into overtime. It's like, okay.
Yeah, let's talk about that fight with Mahito. Him and Mahito a little bit. That was intense.
It was. The whole thing of Mahito trying, that's where you kind of get to know about Mahito's whole thing of he touches people's souls and he can alter their shape, which basically kills them. And he's like, so he's like, are you aware of your own soul? You have to be consciously able to like block your own soul from my attacks while also managing all your other stuff. And, that whole fight was just all over the place. Yeah. And I don't really understand why Nanami let him go. Because he probably could have finished him. I mean, he chopped off his leg and let all that stuff fall. And he was like, if we see each other again, we should finish this fight. But it's like, you could finish him now, though. Right. Like, at least maybe you could have. Yeah. So that was probably the only thing that didn't make sense to me in that fight. But, Nanami's ability of just making a 7-3 ratio line anywhere on anybody and just being like, oh, weak point. You're right. Gotcha. It's like, okay, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. With the blunt end of his weapon.
Yeah, with the back end of his weapon while it's wrapped.
Yeah, that was crazy.
That just means that when it's unwrapped, it's going to be world breaking. It's going to be ridiculous.
We haven't even seen that yet.
Yes.
I wish you could have seen a little more of Nanami. I mean, I liked that we basically were just like, okay, so Yuji's they're doing the thing where, the protagonist gets a bunch of different teachers. So we had Gojo as Yuji's teacher. Then we have Nanami as his other teacher for the more level-headedness of things. The more, Yuji's like, oh, let's go all out. He's like, no, if moderate effort works, then just do that. And just like basically saying, calm the fuck down. And so that was Nanami's whole thing of trying to teach Yuji. And then we get Toto is just over here like, you need to learn how to use your cursed energy better. Yeah. So Yuji just gets fucking broken because he has all the best teachers. The best characters of the show all teach him how to fight.
Yes. So, we're way over an hour now. This has been fun. Is there anything else you want to talk about? Like any characters or any hot takes, opinions?
The next season.
Well, opinions or just thoughts, process, whatever. The whole thing with Sukuna making that deal with Yuji where, if I want out, you have to let me have control for 10 minutes. I won't kill anybody, but you're going to forget that you ever made that pact. He hasn't done anything with that yet, and I have no idea what he's planning to use for that. I also wish we would have got a little bit more of the main sorcerer dude that's working with the curses, because we heard about him because he apparently caused this big accident to happen. But he just kind of sent his lackeys to do everything all season. So I have no idea what's going to go on with that either.
With the long hair?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the dude that was talking with the volcano demon before he went and fought
the one
Gojo the first time. He's like, you got to make sure Gojo's out of commission because you can't beat him.
I'm curious to see more about him because as we were watching that festival thing, because I can't remember his name, we noticed he was wearing the same, not kimono, but whatever attire.
Like a robe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As the, one of the main chicks that was part of the, one of the main adults that was with Gojo. Not the one with the braid over her face. Is it the money one? Not her. It was
the one with the scars on her face?
Yes, her. I think.
Gotcha.
They're wearing the same outfit and stuff, so I'm wondering if they came together. But that's another thing is like we end with Money Chick doing something.
Well, yeah, because we ended it with a bunch of people getting recommended for first grade sorcerer status from Toto and then like some of the other like.
But she's going to investigate something.
Yeah. Gojo's like, okay, how much money for me to... Because I think Gojo's trying to get her to investigate stuff for him because he's like, okay, you'll do it for money then. I can do that. Yeah. That's easy. So I'm interested in seeing where the series goes from here. They definitely set it up real nice for season 2 where they could just start it wherever. They could do whatever they wanted with it and it'll honestly make sense. They wrapped up the season really nice.
Yeah.
But I do hope that we still see more of the Kyoto students. I hope they don't do the thing that I fear that they're going to do, and they're just going to be like, cool, they're done. We don't worry about them anymore. They had their time to shine, and we're done. They're going to be here ever again. It's like, don't do that.
My fear is they're going to be referenced, and they're just going to get bodied.
Yeah.
Like, that's going to be my more thing, is like, oh no, bad guys defeated the Tokyo students. So we've got to go and seek revenge for them or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, that's a very classic anime trope.
Yeah.
I will say I'm kind of hopeful that it doesn't happen just because this show, more so than most shows of this caliber, all of the characters are pretty evenly leveled to a degree. Obviously, some are stronger than others. Like Toto's stronger than everybody else. Yuji's pretty stronger than everybody else.
Yeah.
But like everybody can kind of hold their own, especially when they are in groups or whether they're fighting each other. So I'm hoping that it'll just be one of those things where maybe they'll do things where like, oh, you three are going to go, but we're going to add these two from this group over here as well. And they'll start doing bigger groups with more side characters come in and give them more screen time, because we still haven't seen like the scratch of what most of those people can do at this point. And I don't want them to just be that. I don't want them to wait and introduce them back again for a big fight just for them to be bodied, just for Megumi, Nobara, and Yuji to come save them, because that would be tragic. And they don't, no.
Yeah.
Come on now, don't do that.
So
I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that it won't happen.
anything else you want to talk about? That pretty much covers it.
I think
yeah. All right. Do you guys want to plug your stuff real quick?
Sure. So you could follow us over on Twitter at Otaku Couple, here on YouTube at Otaku Couple. You can also check us out on Patreon, Otaku Couple. We react to a bunch of different animes. We've reacted to Jujutsu Kaisen here. We're reacting to Squid Game currently. We've done Cowboy Bebop, Samurai Champloo, Naruto, a whole bunch of them. So check it out. See if you want to support us over there. Or you can even consider becoming a member on our YouTube channel for $5 a month. Helps us out. And be sure to check out Ren and her art. She does taking commissions for various things, AMVs, portraits, all that kind of stuff. You should check it out. It's pretty good. She's the one that did our logo. So if you like our logo, just saying, you should hit her up.
All right. Well,
and thanks for having us, man.
Yeah.
Totally. This was a lot of fun. So with all that being said, I'm the Anime Overanalyst, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Bye.
Bye.
Talking nerdcore today. We're talking nerdcore. Talking nerdcore our way.